crispy.
We are back for another episode of Figures in Action, and today I bring you yet another dojo. This one was a little bit different, though. I liked the approach with this one because the person who wanted it specifically for their IKEA Detolf. Now, if you guys don't know what an IKEA Detolf is, it's spelled Detolf. Look it up. Go to IKEA.com or Google it so you can see. It's basically a 4-level glass shelf unit. Baby, can you close that door so I don't hear the traffic on the outside?
Oh, yeah.
And basically, it's used by a lot of action figure collectors to display their action figures, and it's kind of standard across the board in terms of hobbyists for this particular hobby. And he wanted it to fit into his Detolf. So I had done one prior dial, but that was that Black Panther dial that I did for the homie Jaw. That was for a Detolf. So this was my second one. But because he wanted a dojo, it's really difficult to kind of put everything into the one back wall and just have a floor and just throw it into a Detolf. So I wanted to do a couple of side walls again just to show the styles that dojos are amazing, man. If you study, I've been studying them a little more, and it's really incredible, the artwork behind them, just the architecture, just the whole dojo itself. They're just really done really well. So he wanted something for his Detolf. He wanted a dojo. So I said, you know what, the best thing to do is, instead of just doing a back wall and a floor, or instead of doing side walls that will come all the way to the end and therefore kind of block everything off to the left and right of it, I decided to just do these 5-inch walls. But what I did with these walls is I actually carved wood on the outside of them. So because the Detolf is glass, you know, once he puts it in, you'll be able to see this side of it, obviously, as well as this side. So that was kind of new, and it was cool though. I had a good time with it. Definitely a little bit different because the windows had to be set up differently. Where in the past I would just kind of put, let's say it's going to be displayed this way, right? So all the glue and the guts and everything would be here, and no one would see it, so it would be cool. But in this case, you're seeing both sides. So I had to go about it a little bit differently. It was definitely more challenging. And actually, now that I'm looking at it before I send it off, I still have to touch up a couple of spots there. And I noticed another spot. But anyway, there I have to kind of continue that groove. I ended it for some reason. I had to set up the framing to work in a way where these two were just basically two pieces. I put that paper in between them, and then you slide them into the frame, and then you put the pieces of this is balsa wood that I put in to kind of kind of just hold the window together. So the window's not glued at all. These pieces of wood are glued, and the window is just between them. So that was definitely a challenge, and it wasn't easy, but it was definitely something that I enjoyed doing, just because it's just, anytime you do something that's a little different, it teaches you, so you're learning, you're educating yourself, you're trying to come up with different concepts. Wanted to put a 6-inch Marvel Legends Shield Agent in there for scale. The same floor I used for the last dojo, which are like these placemats that I got at the dollar store. This time I took my girlfriend's advice, and although her advice was a little different, I kind of flowed that way in making these kind of a little smaller and not so long as I did the other ones. Her suggestion is to make them instead of a square, a rectangle. But with a smaller space, I think the square worked, and I was able to kind of do one down, one sideways, so it does give it a cool little look. Let me take this guy out. This is a shelving unit that can be removed. It's one of those situations where it won't stand up by itself, but I was able to put the grooves into the wall so I can, so the new owner can set it right into place. And this other one, same deal, it won't stand up by itself. It's made specifically to fit into this little area here. wanted to, again, include shells because you can put weapons and so forth. Instead of going with a scroll, I went with this that Joanne gave me, and I forgot what it was from, but went with that instead, as space was limited because of the size of the Detolf. This is 13 inches across. I think it's 11 inches deep, and it is 13 and a half inches tall. So it just fits the height of the dojo. It'll fit in perfectly. I sized this so it can fit in. So yeah, man, this is the newest dojo. Pretty happy with it. Went with the hardwood floors underneath the mats, as opposed to the other dojo where it was just all mats. And what else? What else can I say about this piece? Same deal, breaks up. You know, everything I make pretty much is magnetized. So this is magnetized. This comes off. Back wall comes off as well. And the table will stay with it just because it is kind of in there in those grooves. Yeah, so this is how it comes apart and comes together. I am actually going to be working on a much bigger dojo coming up real soon, where it's going to have kind of a front and a dojo space, a practice space inside. So I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, man, again, I know every once in a while or maybe I do it more often, but thank you so much for everyone who watches. Thank you for the questions, thank you for the comments, the conversations that we have. I know in the last year or so recently, I've not shared as much as I used to share. Mostly because I want you guys to explore. I want you guys to put in some work, and if you really love this craft and you enjoy action figures, you enjoy making dioramas for your action figures, then I think it's a good idea for you to use your imagination and come up with your own creations. You know, for example, for this dojo, I did some research, but ultimately this design wasn't copied from anywhere. This was just a design that I came up with. I just, you know, first I said, well, let me do a little box in here. So I carved that in there. So let me put some foam. So this is foam. And I said, let me put some foam, a darker color. I said, you know what? Let's do one of these beams up here. Let's do this here. And this is just insulation foam board. They're usually 1 inch thick, and I cut this in half. So there's a half an inch, and that the other half was there. And then, you know, again, once I laid that, I was like, oh man, how am I going to do a table? Because if I told them I would create a table. If I create a table with 4 legs, then it wouldn't be flush against the wall, and therefore it would kind of just be hanging. So I kind of created a challenge for myself unknowingly, and then figured out a way to make it look good and get out of that hole that I kind of created. And that's all, again, just trial and error, just creating, just trying new things, trying new materials. This is balsa wood, but then underneath I supported it with basswood because balsa breaks really easily. So you also have to keep those things in mind when you're building things. You know, this is gonna get packaged. These things aren't. It's not like I'm handing it off to the person and they're putting it in the front seat of the car and driving away. I mean, I'm mailing this, and at some point he's gonna want to put it away, or he may want to put it away. But either way, there's going to be handling of these dials, so you got to make sure that, you know, like this is tape. This is gaffer's tape, a real skinny version of gaffer's tape. But I also put hot glue gun underneath because gaffer's tape ends to lose some of its stickiness. So you got to think of those things. And yeah, so thank you very much for watching. The comments, the likes, I really appreciate it, man. You guys are the best. I really enjoy doing this, and I just don't see myself slowing down. There's so many more projects that are coming out, some really cool shit coming down real soon. And I turn my attentions towards some other projects that are currently underway. And this is it. All right, guys, thank you very much. Talk to you soon. Peace.